DeSanto Propane is 4 generations strong as a trustworthy, family-owned business with unmatched customer service. Go online at DeSantoPropane.com for more info or call toll-free at 1-800-752-4574 today. Since 1937, the difference has been DeSanto Propane.
Hello, everybody. Welcome into Bills Weekly here on FingerLakes1.com. Excuse me. Victory Monday here. Wildcard round defeated. Bills 31, Broncos 7, and a much anticipated rematch on deck in the divisional round. Paul Russo, Jim Sinicropi, Kyle Evans here with you. Recap, obviously, the wildcard round, and then get to previewing the Ravens coming to Orchard Park on Sunday. But first, I have to thank a couple more of our sponsors here, including the Cuba Lake Wine Trail.
You're just excited because the Commanders won also.
Well, now you've exposed me in a way I did not anticipate having to be exposed on a Bills podcast here. So, now you're throwing me off. Cuba Lake Wine Trail, from the first sip to your last look at the lake, the Cuba Lake Wine Trail will impress and inspires America's first wine trail. You truly choose your own path when you visit the winery, soak in the scenery, and make memorable moments with friends. You can plan your trip at CuyaWineTrail.com and the Lux Hotel and Conference Center, your next great location for your overnight stay, wedding, event, reception, meeting space, and more. With on-site food and beverage at Woody's Bar and Grill, you're sure to find everything you're looking for in one spot. You can contact them today to inquire about your next opportunity. So, yes, thank you, Jim, for exposing me on Bills Weekly as being a Commanders fan. I was able to duck allegations, I feel like, for a while. But
I was pulling for him.
Thank you. It feels good. Hopefully, here in a matter of about a month, we're discussing Commanders-Bills Super Bowl in an ideal way for me anyway. But alas, not what we're doing here today. So let's begin. Like I said, I want to start for sure a little bit here with this Broncos game, go back here and recap. Just talking to you guys off air about it. For me, it was interesting. I was watching with some friends, and Broncos go down first drive score. And it's like, they're like, well, here we go with the Bills here in this season. I'm like, well, Bills defense, usually the first drive is kind of their feel out, whatever drive, whatever you want to call it. And lo and behold, ends up being the only scoring blemish in that sense on the day for the team. And offensively speaking, I don't know how it could have been better necessarily. It's kind of crazy because you look at the numbers and Josh Allen had a really great passing day. But for me, I thought it was just all about the ground. They were able to pretty much do whatever the hell they wanted to in the running game on what was one of the top running defenses in the NFL in the Denver Broncos.
Yeah, all aspects of the game were positive for the Bills. The defense was probably the most surprising to me after the start. And then, the ability to run at will and the efficiency of Josh Allen. Couldn't have been better, huh, Kyle?
Yeah, I mean, excuse me. I think we're both having trouble talking this morning.
Come out of the gate strong.
We talked a lot about how the Denver defense is very good, and they've been able to shut down some of these elite offenses. But man, after that, first 2 minutes and 24 seconds, that Denver offense had 154 total yards. Just honestly crazy considering the talent that's on that team. They had been averaging over 29 points per game. And then, offensively, I never thought the Bills could just run whenever they wanted.
Against a good team.
And pass kind of whenever they wanted. Even Surtain was getting beat a few times. So, it was just a dominant win. I guess you could also throw in there was a special teams blunder that was annoying. You can't give up a fake punt on your own end on a 4th and 8. But aside from that, I thought
when they were lining up for that, I thought, for some reason, I just thought they might try to fake it, given the situation and everything. And Riley Dixon, Denver's punter, Syracuse University grad. Is
Legend.
probably the best punter in maybe in NFL history, and he brings that the ability to make a play like that. I don't know. It's pretty cool. I thought
It was funny how long it hung up in the air. It was just like a floater.
Yeah, it wasn't a bullet by any
Yeah.
means. And it was a nice catch. Gutsy call for sure, but obviously didn't impact anything.
Yep.
It ends up being, I think, probably the Bronco play of the day or second play of the day, depending upon how you view it.
Franklin touchdown,
yeah, I was
probably the
gonna
play of the
say.
day. Fake punt, second play of the day, and that's the end of the Broncos
Yeah.
season.
So, it just ends up being a pretty good day for the Bills overall in that sense.
When they first scored that first touchdown, the first thing I was thinking was, man, is Sean Payton going to out-coach, Sean McDermott right here? Because it just looked like, they picked up a big third down conversion to Cortland Sutton earlier after the Bills' first two plays looked like defense came out like ready to go. They were fired up. Then they got the first down on that pass to Sutton, and then the touchdown pass to Franklin. And that was kind of what I wasn't too concerned, but I was like, man, this is setting the stage to be a nightmare for Sean McDermott. And you do got to respect Peyton and what he's done in Denver, and they'll be back next year. I think Bo Nix will be a good fantasy quarterback to draft next year.
You would think anyway.
Yeah.
But hey, now they get to plan for that while the Bills get to plan for the divisional round, which is always good. So
Big one.
all right. This is kind of like one of those things where people have been talking about for well over a month now about Josh versus Lamar for the MVP and everything like that. And we get pretty much, I think, what a lot of fans really wanted here in this kind of rematch of these two teams. Maybe preferably they would have wanted it a week later in the AFC Championship game, but alas, not going to happen. But it is in Buffalo. It's a home game for the Bills. And I've been seeing stuff already on social media from people on both sides where this is going to be, I personally think it's going to be an insane environment.
Sure, of course.
I think, look, Orchard Park's already pretty intense. I think it's kind of like one of those things where it's just going to be amplified given the situation, given honestly a lot of the trash talk surrounding both teams already. It's crazy. I think
Night game.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it is because, God forbid we have sunlight at night in that sense.
A 6:30 start. Yeah, it's going to be, the weather's not going to be like, so far it doesn't look like it's going to be snow or too cold. I think the forecast was for 38 degrees.
I'm trying to pull it up.
For a high on next Sunday. By 6:30 it'll get a little colder, but nothing. I don't think the weather will be too much of a factor.
Yeah, it's showing on the game notes at the moment, it's showing it's 22 and clear, but
Yeah, by the time the sun goes down, it'll cool down.
Yeah.
But, like I say, weather could have been a huge factor in Buffalo in late January, but it looks like it won't be. So see how the games decide on the field. Bills open as 1.5 point favorites.
Yeah, it's already switched. Baltimore's now a half-point favorite.
That's crazy being on the road. It's just, you wonder why.
Yep. Yeah, I checked at like 10 o'clock. Yeah, 12 hours ago I checked, and I just checked now, and they're half-point favorite.
Wow.
actually, the one I'm looking at has it as a whole point favorite at the moment. But
Both teams look good. The Ravens look great against the Steelers.
yeah, I don't know. And I think this is where we kind of get into things a little bit here. I don't know. Personally speaking, I don't understand some of the added talk around Baltimore. Yeah, they went out and they handled business and they did it with pretty much no sweat against Pittsburgh, but I don't know. I don't know how much of that's just Pittsburgh being Pittsburgh at this point or what. I go back to something, Kyle, you brought up last week, right? And it's the fact that Baltimore in the postseason, especially when they've come up against Buffalo, it's been a different story than what we've seen in like the regular season. I understand, the fact they played each other this year and everything like that, but it's a different animal when you get to this time of year.
Yeah, that game that happened in week 4, the Bills' first loss of the year, I get it. People want to go back and look at it and think that that's going to really impact this game. I don't think it's going to impact it at all. In fact, the Bills were without 3 of their defensive starters, Terrell Bernard, Matt Milano, and Taron Johnson, who we all know are 3 very key contributors to that defense.
Shakir was out on offense, I believe, or at least
I
he got
checked,
hurt that
Shakir
game.
was not out, but
He
he
got
was
hurt
banged
that
up.
game.
Yep.
Or he was coming back, but he wasn't 100%. And was Cook playing that game?
Cook did play, he only had 39 yards. And I get it, Amari Cooper hasn't done a whole lot in production-wise, but the threat of him still out there changes it too. So, and he wasn't obviously there in week 4. So and it's in Buffalo. So this is just a completely different game in my opinion. And yeah, it's the Steelers. They were going to dominate them all along. They doubled up them in total yards. I mean, it was only Lamar's 3rd ever playoff win. He did already lose to Buffalo back in 2020. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. The more I think about it, I said last week, I know Jim thought I was kind of like crazy. I said I thought I was worried about Baltimore. I don't know if I am. I think the Bills might have a really good shot at winning this game.
Yeah, I'm surprised they were underdogs. I feel good about it. I mean, you talk about Derrick Henry, something to be concerned about. Yeah, but obviously James Cook is a concern for the other team too. I don't know if they negate each other. Obviously Henry is probably the better back, historically at least. But I mean, not this season.
Cook is underrated.
Yeah, Cook is big time underrated, and he showed it. And look at how super efficient Allen was. 20 for 26. He completed passes to 8 different guys, and all 8 of those guys that were also targeted more than just once in the game. I mean, so like, how can you defend against that? You know, they might run it to Cook, or they might throw it to 8 different people. You know, like they're a tough team to defend. I mean, I bet you if you polled 32 NFL general managers, if they'd take Jackson or Allen, I bet you they would take Allen.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, maybe there might be a few that go with Jackson. Allen's got a better postseason record as a starter than Jackson. And the Bills are at home. So, yeah, the Bills should win this game. The Bills should win this game and move on to face the Texans after they upset the Chiefs in Buffalo again. I mean, that's a big game, too, for the Bills.
It is crazy. I mean, I don't want to go too far ahead in this sense anyway, right? But I'll throw up the bracket too here while I'm thinking about it, so we can see it. It's crazy the amount of people talking already. And look, do I think the Texans beat the Chiefs? No, I'm not gonna sit here and whatever. But it is crazy, especially in that game, the amount of people I've seen nationally already just throw the Chiefs into the AFC Championship game. It's kind of crazy. You have to go out there and whatever, and I get it, but they aren't giving any sort of credit to Houston. They looked like a completely different team than they have the past month and a half, 2 months.
What's the line?
You know, to the Chargers. It was crazy.
I thought it was 7.5, or was that the wrong game that I was looking at?
I was guessing it would be probably somewhere between 8 and 10 in favor of the Chiefs.
Yeah, and remember, it was an 8-point difference when they played, was it 3 weeks ago? Yeah, in Kansas City. Was that a few days before Christmas, or was that the Christmas game?
That was the Wednesday Christmas game.
Yeah, okay. Yep, and they won 27-19. Was that the game Tank Dell got hurt, I think, too?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I do think the Chiefs won the game, but then I am hearing a few people mention the rest part of it. What do you guys think? Was it the 26 days of rest for the offensive starters, most of them, because they last played Christmas?
Well, I mean, rest versus rust is a very real thing in my mind. It's a double-edged sword. I don't know. I mean, I know it's a little apples and oranges, but you kind of saw what happened with some of these teams in the college football playoff that had pretty much a month off, and it didn't look great for them. You know, I don't have a problem having a week off. I think having a week, maybe 10 days, is perfect. But man, there's a certain element too after you get to a certain point in that 2-week range where it gets sketchy quick. I feel like.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, I definitely think the Texans can win. I think if they do, and they have to come to Buffalo for an AFC Championship game, huge advantage to Buffalo, obviously, as opposed to going to Kansas City. But what's kickoff for that game, the Kansas City game?
4:30 on Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, so they're playing Saturday. Bills are playing Sunday.
Yep, so again, the Bills will know. Well, of course, because of the last game, but Bills will know who their opponent would be if they win.
and then also have a little less rest than their opponent by about 24 hours.
Yeah.
For whatever that's worth.
Yeah. No, would they be the late game then, you think, for the AFC Championship game?
Yeah, I think they'd be the 6:30 Sunday.
So, either way. Yeah, Baltimore's Baltimore's in an interesting spot right now to me in this game, going back to, obviously, the divisional round here. Kyle, you kind of alluded to it a little bit on the Bills side of it. Conversely, on the Baltimore side, they were minus Zay Flowers in this wild card round. I know the hope is he would get back at some point here in this playoff run for them.
Hopefully not this week.
But we've seen this. I don't know, not necessarily be a problem for the Ravens consistently, but the options for Lamar get kind of shortened up pretty quick on offense when they're passing through the air, and I think that's where we've seen a lot of his, at least chunk plays on the ground, kind of pop up, is because he's just has the force to scramble because he either needs to buy time or something like that. Look, not a knock on these guys, but Isaiah Likely, Mark Andrews, they aren't the fleetest of foot necessarily because they're tight ends, and those tend to be his two preferred targets when Zay Flowers is down.
Yeah, and Mark Andrews didn't play in that Week 4 matchup either, and their leading receiver that day was Justice Hill.
Yeah.
But Lamar only threw the ball 18 times. It was the Derrick Henry show. That's what they really have to lock in all week, and just trying to limit him and not let him just rip off. Remember, he had that 80-yard run to open the game in that Week 4 matchup, and that kind of put them down early, and just they had no energy. They had no fight. It seemed like they were just knocked out early. And they got to stop falling behind early. I know it wasn't a problem yesterday, but they keep doing this all year. They give up these early touchdowns. They fall behind. I don't think it's going to work against teams like Baltimore and Kansas City. And remember, in that Kansas City game, they did jump out early. They did jump out early on the Lions. Mm-hmm. They got to start jumping out quicker, I think, and getting faster starts.
Yeah. And I think that goes back to a little bit what I alluded to with watching the game anyway, where it was just like, okay, no worries. We'll see how this goes, though. So, the discourse around this game is going to be kind of crazy. I saw Bomani Jones equate it to, and Jim, I might have to defer to you a little bit more on this one than anything else. Kind of giving a weird vibe of like the Lakers versus Celtics in the mid '80s of sorts.
Who, Baltimore, Buffalo?
Yeah, I think it has more to do with like Josh Allen versus
Lamar
Jackson.
I thought he was mocking Ryan Clark for comparing the
maybe
the MVP to the NBA MVP.
I mean,
I thought it was a joke, but maybe it's not.
I didn't think he was. Not in the tweet that he did anyway.
I saw the tweet. I thought he was mocking Ryan Clark because
maybe because it's weird to compare anything to the NBA.
Yeah, they've been doing it on ESPN on Get Up.
Yeah. I mean, maybe I read it as like it actually having some type of legs though, to a degree.
Yeah, we're not that big rivalry with Baltimore. I mean,
it's only the
coming
13th.
That way,
it's only the 13th meeting ever between the two teams.
Even going back to when the franchise was in Indianapolis, or
I don't know about just Baltimore.
It must be.
I'm guessing. Baltimore. Yeah, I'm guessing it's just as the Ravens because I mean, if it would include when they were the original Browns, then like
no, the Oh, wait a second. Indianapolis Colts.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, the Colts were originally in Baltimore, but the Ravens were.
Oh yeah, Baltimore moved out, and then the Ravens were the Browns, and then the Browns are back.
Yep. Since '99, it's only the 13th matchup.
So
I mean, I don't consider these teams rivals. They happen to be right now have a couple of great quarterbacks, and they are going to meet in the playoffs, which can start to, sprout a rivalry. But they're not rivals.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like the KC Buffalo rivalry.
Yeah, or obviously not division rivals, but yeah, I don't consider it a rivalry. I think there's a couple good football teams with a couple of great quarterbacks. It's going to be a really entertaining game to watch. And we aren't giving our predictions yet, but I feel good about Buffalo winning this game and then moving on. And then I do honestly feel good going to Kansas City if we have to. Even better if Texas can pull an upset. So Bills fans on Saturday are going to be rooting hard for the Texans. Get that AFC Championship game at home potentially.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard not to, I think, feel good about the Bills, given the fact, obviously, overall in the season. again, this is something I bring up to the people who are really on Baltimore already, and use the regular season game as the crutch for their argument. And not that there's anything wrong with that, but it appears to be that was just one of the outliers on the Bills season more than anything else. And
It was September,
Yeah.
man, a long time ago. And they also followed that up with a loss at Houston. And both those games were on the road. And, the Bills were dealing with some injury issues at the time. So, this is a totally different situation. Both teams are in different spots than they were on September 29th when they played,
Yeah, I mean, Kyle brought it up too. I mean, you have different people who, like, whether or not they were on the rosters at the time or not, who were in the game, who weren't in the game. I mean, Kyle, perfect example of it, right? Like, who's to say Mark Andrews isn't the MVP of this game coming up, hypothetically? Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, he wasn't even in that September game period.
And Zay Flowers had 1 catch for 10 yards. You think that's really going to happen again if he plays?
Exactly.
Probably not. The game script is just totally different.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the thing, right? It's even a regular season game, hypothetically, say they played a month ago in December, completely different script this time around if that was the case too. Look, I get it. People need to use numbers, and I respect them the same way. You take as much data as you can to form whatever you can. But there's a reason why you look on, for example, ESPN's game day sheet for it, and I don't know if I've ever seen a true 50-50 split, but their predictor is a true 50-50 split,
I mean, do you think that Baltimore or Kansas City or anybody, Detroit, Philadelphia, anybody can stop the Bills from putting points up?
No.
But do you believe that the Bills can have some success against the Baltimore offense, the Bills defense? Do you think? I mean, that to me, that's it right there. I mean, we assume it's going to be a pretty high-scoring game, and just feel like the Bills have a better edge. And every time you look at it this year, look at this Bills team, you're like, man, the defense just doesn't seem like, one of those legendary all-time defense, Super Bowl type of defense. But then you watch the game and you're like, holy crap, man, look at these guys. Like, the defense, James Cook's underrated. The Buffalo Bills defense is underrated. So that's kind of how I look at it. Is just, I think Buffalo's defense can limit Baltimore, and I don't think Baltimore's defense can stop the Bills' offense.
And that's their weakness, Baltimore. They can't stop the passing game. They can only stop the run. And what happened with Pittsburgh for the last 4 or 5 weeks? They had no passing game. So why do they struggle in that game? Because they just aren't a good offense. The Bills are going to put up way more than 14 points than what the Steelers were doing.
And they're going to have to take a balanced approach. You're not going to know if it's going to go to James Cook or Ray Davis or Ty Johnson, or out on the flat on a pass, or go downfield, or if Josh Allen's going to have a designed run. I mean, there's very difficult to defend as opposed to defending the Pittsburgh Steelers, I'd say.
Yeah.
No, for sure. I mean, not Steelers became, I don't even know if they had a dimension on offense there towards the end.
And I think, don't you think the Bills can not really stack it up against Henry, but focus on Henry? Say, come on, let's stop Henry, and then if Lamar is going to throw the ball downfield, we'll take our chances. And let's stop Henry.
That was a point I wanted to bring up, right, is the fact that, mind you, now the guys in Denver are not near where Derrick Henry is, but the talk about Denver going into this game was the fact that they had 3, you can make the case of 4 running backs they can turn to and be successful. And at the end of the day, the leading rusher yesterday for Denver ends up being Bo Nix. I mean, the Bills do and did yesterday a frankly really great job at retaining or kind of keeping the running backs within the first couple of yard boundary of the line of scrimmage every time.
Yeah, Javonte Williams, Jaleel McLaughlin, and Esteem there. I mean, they're not Derrick Henry, but they have been effective this year. But it's obviously Baltimore's a better offense in every aspect of the game. I think Bo Nix is Josh Allen. I think they're very similar. I think Bo Nix will have the same type of career as Allen. Is in a couple more years, he'll start to become like one of the best quarterbacks in the league in that mold of Allen. Having the ability to run, big guy, not afraid to take some hits, and also, great arm, obviously, too. But I think Baltimore's better, obviously, all personnel, except for maybe wide receivers. Denver's got some good wide receivers.
Yeah, I think I don't disagree. I would. I don't know. I think probably coaching-wise they're on the same level. So yeah, I agree with that.
So yeah, look at McDermott. You got take Sean Payton, and now he's got Harbaugh, and then maybe Andy Reid. I mean if he can win this game, I mean he just beat Sean Payton and Harbaugh. It's weird that I would think I was kind of thinking after that first touchdown to Franklin that, oh man, is McDermott up for this, but obviously he is. I mean, he's underrated too.
No, you can go ahead, Kyle.
I was going to say, I know he's not calling plays anymore, but he's still very much in charge of the defense. I thought that was his second best playoff performance in terms of defense, other than that Ravens game back in 2020. I thought it was excellent all around after that first 2 minutes. I mean, what they're able to do, I mean, you mentioned it, all the names on offense. Bo Nix didn't really run until late, didn't really have a lot of openings either to run. He was running late in the fourth quarter, really.
Yeah.
So I thought it was a complete performance.
Yeah. And I was going to say, I don't know if I'm going to be sticking this as a take flag because I do know other people kind of feel this way, but what's John Harbaugh really done in the past? He's got a Super Bowl in 2012, but since then, it's been a lot of coulda, shoulda, wouldas with him, and
yeah, I think a lot of it comes down to that Lamar Jackson, as great as he is, especially in the regular season, he's probably a little overrated, especially when it comes to the postseason.
He's 12-9 in his playoff career, Harbaugh, as a head coach since 2008.
Yeah,
pretty good. Got to get there first and to play that many games.
Yep. So average, he's beatable, basically 12-9.
Yeah, but again, you look why is Andy Reid such a great coach? All of a sudden now, he's got Patrick Mahomes.
Yep.
Why is Sean McDermott winning football games? It wouldn't be with Mitch Trubisky,
Andy's 26-16 in the playoffs.
Who's that now?
Andy Reid combined through his whole coaching.
Well, I mean, that's the thing, too. People talk about how great Andy Reid was, but they didn't love him in Philadelphia.
Yep.
If you're in the league that long and with enough good teams and you have enough success, you're going to obviously get better and better. But again, where are the Chiefs without Patrick Mahomes? So sometimes you can, when looking at these matchups, you can just kind of throw everything out the window, and it's Allen versus Jackson versus Mahomes versus Stroud right now. The quarterback's such a key position, and I like our chances. I think Josh Allen's the best quarterback. I think he's better than Patrick Mahomes at this point.
And to put a bow on that too, maybe a little bit on the broader sense, who are the four quarterbacks in the AFC we were talking about preseason? Allen, Jackson, Mahomes, Stroud.
Yep.
And who are the final four quarterbacks in the AFC standing? Allen, Jackson, Mahomes, Stroud.
And it's the same four teams that played in the divisional round last year as well.
Good. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, but like I mentioned a lot, I do think Joe Burrow and the Bengals will be back at some point. They just have a lot of work to do. There's no way they're not going to be a playoff team next year.
I think it begins with having somebody new on the sideline. But
the defense in Cincinnati is so bad.
Do you want to know what's crazy about that is they were hyped to be one of the top ones in the league this year too, and they just weren't even sniffing it.
Not injuries. But you got Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow. It's hard to believe that that they weren't in the playoffs, but that was they dug their grave early in the season. But yeah, it's interesting. The same four quarterbacks, the same four teams. Obviously, Bill's hoping for a different result.
Yeah.
And I think that another year of experience in the books. I just feel like it's the destiny for the Bills this year. It's like natural progression of things. They're going to be at home. I think they're the better team. They're going to win, and then I think they're going to win in the AFC Championship game, wherever that might be.
All right. Well, I think it's about that time then that we do our outright predictions. So, Jim, you seem pretty confident over there. Would you like to go first?
Yeah, I think that Buffalo 34, Baltimore 24. Bills by 10.
Ooh. Okay.
You go next.
You want me to go, Kyle? I'm willing. I think it's I guess in terms of how both these teams play, I think it's going to be a low-scoring affair. I'm going Bills 23, Baltimore 20.
A low score. You know, when's the last time the Bills have scored 23 points? And
Probably what?
against New England when they rested everybody. That's it. That's the only time all year.
The Houston game, maybe, right?
I mean, I guess yeah. They against back into that 2-game losing streak, they scored 10 points in back-to-back weeks.
I just think you're going to see a little bit of a bare knuckle type deal here for a lot of this game amongst both of those teams. So I do think the Bills come away with a win in the end. I guess technically as underdogs too in this, at least as it stands right now.
I don't think it's going to close. That's another prediction. The Bills will, when that closes on Sunday, the Bills will be favorites.
Okay. I'm on 23-28 Bills with the win.
I'll go 31-28 Bills.
Oh.
It'll be a Tyler Bass game-winning 42-yard field goal.
Oh, boy.
Oh, I'm shocked that he made all his kicks yesterday, by the way.
Yeah, it's a good sign. None of them were super pressure kicks. Actually, the first half kicks were pressure kicks.
Yeah.
Or the one he made an extra point and a field goal in the first half, right?
Yep.
Yeah, we haven't talked about that all day, but
Hopefully
at some point it's going to come down to Tyler Bass's foot. Somewhere, maybe not this week, maybe next week, but yeah, holy cow, man! I mean, I just think if you're a diehard Bills fan, you got to be losing your mind right now because now it's just so close. 1 win, 2 wins, 3 wins, you're Super Bowl champs. And the Bills tend to play better against better teams, or they play good against good teams. I don't think there's any team left on the NFC side or AFC where the Bills aren't going to go in thinking that they're going to beat them.
Yeah, especially if they ever played the Commanders in the Super Bowl. Man, that'd be easy.
You know what? I got to tell you one thing. Great day of football yesterday, obviously getting to watch the games. And one after another, you get to watch the whole game. It's not like red zone. I really enjoyed the football, even though a lot of the games weren't super close. But what's up with everybody's just goes for it now on 4th down? Like, what were the Commanders doing last night?
I wasn't a fan of it.
Kick the field goal, and then they got back down there again. And if they had kicked the field goal before, that field goal would be to take the lead, and they go for it again. And luckily it went to McLaurin, which solidified my parlay. I won a parlay on that touchdown pass to McLaurin, and so I was glad they went for it. But honestly, and even the Bills, how different would the game be if Ray Davis was out of bounds on that touchdown pass?
Yeah.
I mean,
Ty Johnson?
Yeah, Ty Johnson, excuse me.
Oh, I know. I thought he was
that was a 4th down play.
Yeah, 4th and 1.
And they pass it, and Allen's standing back there like, hey, great job, offensive line for the Bills. Allen had about 8 seconds.
Yep.
But again, you're going for it on 4th down, 4th and 1, you're going to throw it? Like when you could just push it ahead with Allen probably. And not only that, but you're throwing it back of the end zone, low percentage play. And just because Johnson's shoelace is like an inch above the out of bounds line, it's a touchdown. Otherwise, who knows what happens.
Honestly, the way the rule is, I thought he was out of bounds technically.
I thought that his backside had was out of bounds before he had control the ball, but the replay showed it wasn't. And God, nobody's worse in those situations than Tony Romo. Trying to call out what happened.
Hey, he knew that fake punt was coming.
But I just thought that's one of my takeaways from yesterday is everybody's just going for it. If you go back 10 years in the NFL, every time they're kicking the field goal, every time. And now they're like going, the Commanders last night, it's the beginning of the fourth quarter. They're down. What were they down?
Was it
6?
4 at the time.
4. Yeah, 4. Like, kick the field goal. Now you're down 1. Then the next field goal you kick, you're in the lead. But instead they're like, we're going for it on 4th and 8.
Yeah.
And then they don't get it. And then they got lucky to get the turnover and then they're right back in the same.
Yeah.
But with a chance, if they kick the field goal, it would have been a chance to kick another field goal for the lead.
Yeah.
And they're in the same situation. And they go for it again and came through.
I was sweating a lot last night.
They say it's analytics, but
Hey, look, and some people who may know me on the baseball side know I do believe in analytics, frankly, across all sports. But I do think there is the fine line, and I think the perfect way analytics work is when you actually combine and have the perfect formula of it with whether you want to call it common sense, game flow, whatever.
Whatever happened to not taking points off the board? Take your points.
That's what I'm getting at. Being honest, especially after, you bring up the Commanders thing last night. Tampa Bay misses an extra point early on. You go in, you at least tie it, and you can kind of push it depending on how you look at things and everything like that. But, instead of you being on the back foot if you kick one of those field goals, Tampa Bay is the one on the back foot at that point.
Yeah, and it was still a tie game until that field goal that hit the crossbar that I thought missed for sure.
Rather be lucky than good, man.
But it went in, and now the Commanders move on to probably lose next week.
How dare you?
Daniels was great.
Yeah.
That pass he did make to McLaurin, man. Oh, my God. And then
he had a couple of them.
Yeah, Daniels, the future's bright.
Yeah.
And you got to find your franchise quarterback in this league. Bills are so lucky to have one. Probably for another at least 6 to 8 years, right?
Yeah, give or take.
Yeah.
Yep, could be the Browns.
Oof.
Yeah. Who had Baker Mayfield at one point.
Hold on, they needed an adult in the room. Okay? So they brought in, clearly not an adult. Oh, man. But, yeah. Hey, that's the thing. We go back to it. Allen, Jackson, Mahomes, Stroud.
Yeah, and Stroud has had arguably a down year compared to his rookie campaign. But,
Even
it's
that.
another thing that's different in the NFL now is you can get a rookie quarterback come in, whether it's Bo Nix or Jaden Daniels or C.J. Stroud, and all of a sudden, it used to be when a quarterback was drafted, he was going to sit for 2 years, usually, no matter who it was.
Yeah.
Very rare did a quarterback come in and they just threw him in there because that used to be the thing is, he needs to learn how to play in the NFL. But those days are over. The NFL is just different, and if you're athletic enough and talented enough, you're going to go right in there right away. And these guys have proven that they can turn an entire franchise around.
Yeah.
Shockingly, Mahomes sat a whole year, and nobody realizes it.
Yeah. Because that was towards the end of that era where
It was Alex Smith for a while.
Yeah, I was
Right,
about to say
imagine
that's part that sucks kind of about that, right? Is the fact that Alex Smith had gotten them to pretty much the doorstep twice in those first Andy Reid years in Kansas City. But it's kind of crazy. I think the first successful one probably might have been Andrew Luck, maybe, in terms of consistency after his rookie year.
did he start right off the bat?
I think he
For
did.
the
Pretty sure he
Colts?
did.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just like I said, there's so much has changed in the league, and that's another thing. Didn't matter if you're the number one pick, if you were John Elway or whoever. You sat behind somebody for 2 years, sometimes longer, until they felt you were ready. Now it's like, and I couldn't see this coming with Jaden Daniels. You probably were happy they drafted Jaden Daniels, but did you?
That's the part where we discussed I wasn't thrilled with taking a quarterback initially off the bat.
In retrospect, you're probably pretty happy.
Well,
right now.
I had some stock in Sam Howell.
They're 1-8.
I wanted them. Well, my main thing with it was when the offensive line last year was healthy at the start of the year, he was doing fine. So I thought it was more of an offensive line issue as the season went on than it was a quarterback issue. When very clearly, Although it kind of was, it was also wasn't.
Yeah, Howell hasn't done too. Where did he go? To Seattle?
Yeah, and he had one start, and it was a
Not good.
mess and a half. So,
Yeah.
but,
So, anyways, it's just
and hey, to that end, it's not maybe just rookie quarterbacks. It's a matter of having the right, as we've seen very clearly, it's a matter of having the right people too around that rookie quarterback to make that difference. I mean, Chicago, look at that. It's been a
well, and look at
mess and a half.
Carolina.
Yeah.
So that's true too. Yeah, you got to come into a good situation. That certainly helps. But yeah, it's different. Like lots changed in this league, and it's more exciting, I think, than it used to be.
Sure.
Going forward on 4th down and 8, in the playoffs when you're down 4 with like 15 minutes left in the game, like that makes no sense.
Yeah.
Well, Tom Brady had an interesting complaint. I don't know if you caught it. He was kind of complaining about how quarterbacks run too much for his liking. Hey, Tom. Hey, Tom, this isn't the early 2000s,
Right.
late 90s where we have just pocket passers.
Yep.
I mean, we have dynamic guys now that run and pass. And it's just funny that I guess it said it's not his favorite play in the world is how he put it.
Well, if you're a
Okay.
defense, just think about if you're a defense and you're trying to prepare. Let's say you're preparing for the Rams or the Vikings or the Rams. Like neither one of those quarterbacks run. It's a little bit easier to like come up with your game plan without that third option of like the quarterback running down the field for 40 yards when a play breaks down.
Yeah.
So, and I will say this about Tom Brady. Having listened to him the first couple weeks of the season till now, I think he's improved his color commentary. He's done a lot better. I like Tirico and Collinsworth the best, and I don't love Collinsworth, but you know what? Collinsworth knows when to come in, knows what to say. For the average football fan, I think it's he says the right things. I think Tony Romo must drive Jim Nantz nuts. He blew the Super Bowl call last year, and then but yeah, I did notice yesterday. I thought Tom Brady called a good game yesterday.
Unfortunately, being down to one game on each network now, I guess I prefer one of the B crews. I'm more of an Iron Eagle Charles Davis fan.
I'm a Kevin Harlan guy.
All right, I respect that.
But just heads up for you, your Commanders,
Yeah,
Brady will be
no.
doing the game, so he'll have a problem probably with Jaden Daniels running.
That's
So-
all right.
Just be prepared.
It's all right. I have a problem with inflated balls, so whatever.
But if you look at the 8 teams that are left, certainly the Commanders are the one that doesn't fit. You would not have expected
How
it.
dare you?
Just stating the obvious, right?
Why not us then?
Yeah, hey, anything can happen. That's the other thing in this new NFL with all these changes. Maybe one of the things is there will be a few more upsets here and there, and maybe a team like Washington can play Cinderella. They seem to lack ability to consistently run the ball, but why not? Why not? I think that the Super Bowl champ's coming out of the AFC, regardless. Don't want to hear Dan Campbell to hear me say that, but I don't think the Detroit or Philadelphia is
I want his kneecaps.
as good as these teams that we have remaining here in the AFC.
Yeah, I'm not sure the Eagles make it as far as I thought. Yesterday was bad. The Packers were trying to let them blow them out, and
Yeah.
they just never did. I mean, I guess a 12-point difference, double-digit win, but it just never seemed like it was a blowout.
I don't know if it would have made a difference, but it did not seem like Jordan Love was 100% yesterday either.
Yeah, and he probably wasn't.
I don't think it would have made a difference, but he didn't look good.
If it was the Packers from 4 weeks ago, I think they might have been very competitive and maybe even won that game. But, I mean, look, they had 22 points, the Eagles, with Saquon running over 100 easily again.
And if you're a Packers fan, you're like, how can we not score 23 points, you know?
And then they lost every one of their receivers. Their top 4 were all hurt at one point.
Yep.
So
Yeah. So maybe the Eagles a little overrated. And maybe Detroit. We'll see. We'll see. It's very exciting, though.
Hey, look, I'm gonna throw up that bracket again. We don't even technically know who this next matchup is going to be anyway in the NFC side of things.
nope,
so.
but I do think it'll be the Rams. He thinks Vikings, right?
Yeah, I got Vikings. Matter of fact, I got a 4-way parlay. I took, what was it? Bills minus 6.5. I teased it to. Philadelphia minus 6.5. Washington plus 7.5. and Minnesota money line was like $10 to win like 90.
Why not you then?
Yeah, why not Minnesota tonight? I don't really feel confident about it. I think it's a coin toss game tonight, but a little advantage to Minnesota,
For sure.
even though they're on the road.
Yeah.
Technically in Glendale.
Yeah. Hey, it's part of it. It's one of the fantastic things about the second season of sorts here
Yep.
in the playoffs. So we'll get out of here on that note. Back at it again no matter what next Monday at 10 a.m. Hopefully we continue on once again with another Victory Monday. We're previewing the AFC Championship game. We all seem to think so, and we're assuming you probably do too if you're listening and tuning in. So appreciate everybody for doing that as well. Like, share, and subscribe. Fingerlicks1.com YouTube channel and all major podcasting platforms, including Amazon Music and Spotify. Back at it again next Monday, 10 a.m. Let's go, Buffalo.